Welcome and hello and welcome and hello and welcome and hello and welcome, guys. Not feeling too well, so I'm gonna make this one short but not too sweet. If you know me, they all tend to be just a little bit sour. The dour, sour, fat guy hour they used to call the program, but the branding was just a little bit off, so we retooled. Sorry, my voice is just changing. Testicles descending, but we retooled and we came up with Un Poco Moss, the show where we give you just a little bit more. Um, Wanted to check in with SMCI today because I know obviously the stock crashed. Very formulaic crash led by, of course, who else? The tiny wing, emperor with no clothes, the wizard behind the curtain, whatever whatever you want to call him. They definitely move the market, and they make these calls completely out of left field. Just really, if you think about it, okay, so they did announce recently, a few days ago, this $2 billion line, credit facility led by JP Morgan with a cohort of banks, maturing in 2030, improves their liquidity, gives them flexibility. Doesn't mean they're going to necessarily utilize the whole credit line, but if business expands um, at the rate management thinks is possible, given their worldwide increase in manufacturing capacity, they're talking about 6,000 racks per month. They're talking about landing huge deals. So I don't know. You're coming into sort of a potentially, transformative quarter to the positive side. So this is sort of the perfect. You'd think if you're going to resume coverage, and this is the same analyst that covers. So I think it was actually a different analyst who put the report out. I don't think it was Mike Ng. Um, at least I saw a different name when I was reading an article about it earlier. But I think the intention with coming in on this like random Tuesday where you expect low volume, everybody has their guard down, you come in, and just crash the stock. And Goldman has a huge position in the stock. And you'd think, yeah, indeed, Jay Bizzles, in the house, in the hizzy, Jay Bizzles doing it big, losing some cash with me on SMCI. I hope not. I feel bad for people that bought this and then it's down because a lot of you guys just don't have the stomach for the swings, and you don't know how to play the swings, and you just lose money on paper and you get demoralized and you end up selling the dip and smelling the rip. And that's exactly what the suits in the corner offices at Goldman and places like KBW and Morgan Fudley, who play retail investors like a Stradivarius fiddle, like Ron Darling and his boys in the Andy Griffith Show doing a little bit of jugging. Oh, when the Darlings intersected with Ernest T. Bass, it was true television magic. Sorry, I'm covering it. But anyway, so Goldman downgrades today. And then you also had a couple days ago, Vijay Rakesh, who is really a good analyst. Mizuho, I don't know what their position is in the stock. That's quite a downgrade there from 45 to 31. It just reeks of just chasing the price action. But anyway, Goldman, hit the stock very, very hard, and that obviously showed up in the price action. You could see pre-market it just kind of moved in this odd and then came up a little bit and then crashed all the way down. I wouldn't even call it a crash. Very, very formulaic stuff. Down to 2780 and some big steps. This just looks pre-programmed. And that's why I think, nobody's expecting this. Nobody's expecting this big move. So they can just do whatever they want. They buy off the bottom. And then you could see the rest of the day, they're just absolutely fixing the price on this little down bubble. Seems to be centered around 28 and a quarter for whatever reason. There's definitely some math behind that. Don't get me wrong. It's not random, but so you'd look at this data and you'd think the sky is falling. Everybody's talking about, the margin compression. Everybody's talking about, this is a really kind of interesting article. I wouldn't necessarily call it a hit piece because it's by Summit Research, because all of the information he has in here, or he or she, is pretty factual. It's just how do you interpret the information? He's taking a looking at the liquidity increases we've seen of late, because they had the convertible in, I think it was like September or July, I can't remember, 2025. And then you have this $2.0 billion credit facility. So they've increased their liquidity from like 2 billion to 6.5 billion almost overnight. But if you look at the, growth that they're, looking to blow through 22 billion that they did last year, and management's looking for 36 billion on the low side, and they think they can do more. I don't know if those projections still hold up. I think analysts were looking for 33 billion, but even 33 billion coming off of 22 is pretty extraordinary. And this article is making the point, well, management's talking about doubling quarter on quarter, but if you take the sales that they were going to put forward and you go back to the midpoint of last quarter, which was supposed to be 6.5, so you take the 1.5, even if they do 11, it's really 9.5. The midpoint is really 9, so it's only a $500 million beat. Yada yada yada. He's doing the the old dipsy do, the old tiny wang tango, the old tiptoe through the tulips with Tiny Tim, if you know what I mean. And I know you do. So we go to the same gym. You didn't know that. So who's that fat guy sketching me in the shower? Oh, that's Danny. He's good people. Just obsessed with guys like you with tiny wings. Many of you who aren't accustomed to this show do not know that it is a complete cesspool of nonsense. What's up, Scott? How the Raiders doing? We in the playoffs? I'm not sure. I forgot to look. I think we're in the Super Bowl this year. I predict that every year. Oh, man. I wish Jeff Hostetler and his mustache would come back. Guy drove his CHP Cruiser right into my heart, into the heart of many a Raider fan. At least if you were going to lose in a massive, third quarter fall apart bed chat, at least you had strong cheekbones and a good mustache. So when you were cut unceremoniously ahead of some big hire of John Gruden that was going to solve everybody's problems, this guy's real intense. He's like, I'm going to come around here and I'm going to scowl. I'm going to walk around like I'm not 5'6". I'm going to bring in my son Deuce. Deuce Gruden is a strength coach. We're going to bring an attitude. I'm going to take $100 million out of this organization, go to Tampa Bay, get them a Super Bowl. You guys can all go fuck yourselves. I'm going to do some Coors Light ads or whatever. I don't give a fuck. Get caught in some texting scandals and sue everybody. What the fuck? Who cares? Oh, man. Love some Raider football. I guess that's Raider football. It's more like when, South Park did wrestling. More of a soap opera than anything else. Remember we were in the Super Bowl years ago, our, all-pro Pro Bowl center is down in Tijuana doing some chasing the dragon. I still don't know what happened with that guy, but it was very, very weird. It was a critical person. I feel like, some gamblers kidnapped him and drugged him or something. I'm merely speculating, of course. Mendoza, indeed. Mendoza. Tennis Champ 10 is here. Also wanted that random drop in the prelim. If the margins remain the same, where do you think we go? I mean, if they were able to hold the margins and they're able to sell 11 billion, I think the stock has to go up considerably. Now, I don't think it's going to skyrocket because I think Mr. Market is, tightly in control of the price action on the stock. If you look, guys, I'm not going to go over this whole article because it's a really long article. I read the whole thing, I think twice, but it's really good. I mean, he goes, basically his argument is that the liquidity raises are masking operational issues. And then it's not really, this guy's not really cracking the Da Vinci Code or anything. It's everybody knows they have to buy these processors from NVIDIA and then build the racks. And then they have to do the whole project and then they have to switch it on, validate it, prove it. And then, they don't get paid for a long time. So that's why they just sold, some of their receivables, which was a good, now that will further, when you use a factor, that further erodes your margins because they're going to take a fee for, the time they have to sit on your receivable before they get paid, so the factor is not free, guys. Of course, you guys know that. being the big cheeses and so-and-sos that you are, the movers and shakers, the operators, the high rollers. The shoeshine boys, the truck stop all-stars, the restroom attendants. How's your side hustle? Would you like an Andes Thin Mints or perhaps a spray of Dracar Noir? Somebody get this fat guy away from me. Let me enjoy the rest of my steak. Notice you opted for the creamed spinach. Poor choice. I'll see you again in about 10 minutes. I actually worked as a restroom attendant briefly by accident. It's kind of filling in. No pun intended. Oh my God. I'm so tired. But I'm also restless, aimless, shiftless, pointless, chubby. Working with some epic man boobs. Indeed I am, as they say. I'm sorry about that, guys. I had to send a quick text to a trusted associate. I think short-term max is 40. I don't think there is any more downside. I mean, it's already trading at a fraction of last year's sales. You'd think, they'd be hemorrhaging money. Their cash flow would be in serious, serious trouble. I mean, JP Morgan, all these banks are not going to extend them another $2 billion if they think they're just going to, squander it buying overpriced processors. And this guy's argument, many people's argument is, you're going to run into a glut where it's going to further compress margins, further commoditization. I just completely go the other way. I think the AI trade is expanding. It's accelerating. AI, they're just figuring out how to utilize AI. More players are utilizing AI capacity all the time. There's more and more demand. And when Uncle Chucky commented on this, he's saying, like, yes, it may, take a little bit longer to reach back to those double-digit margins, but you're massively expanding the top line, and we're going after these bigger fish. So that's what's keeping the margins from, reaccelerating into the new, product cycle. It's not, again, I don't think this guy figured anything out. The Wigger figured it out, but they're making a choice to grow, and they're growing, while profitable. And he's talking about, the building blocks, they don't have that many, software. And he's saying Dell has 50,000 salespeople where SMCI only has 750 or something. And they're talking about scale. He's talking about overcapacity. There is no overcapacity in this game. There's going to be massive demand for, the limits are going to be, how fast can you do it? How do you get the reliable power? How do you get regulatory approvals? How do you put it where it needs to be? They're talking about huge expansions in a place like UK, Canada, Germany, India. It's everywhere. And then the sovereign, I know they're not big on sovereign AI for various reasons, but cloud scalers, hyperscalers, read Elon Musk, read Grok, read Meta. They're going to go where they get the quick deployment, best cost, easy serviceability, easy upgrades. There's a reason that those in the know go with SMCI. I don't know if that's true. I just, made that up. Sounded stupid. Yeah, man. SMCX has been a rough road. I mean, I have some shares, believe me. I've been, changing my underwear every 10 minutes on that one. But anyway, if you look at this chart, there's just no reason to be scared. I know anytime it comes off the lows, but notice it's just decelerating back to this line. Almost every other time it's come down, it bounced off this line. Now, I think when market makers took this thing down initially off the Hindenburg report, notice they stopped it almost on this line. And then I don't think they ever intended to take the stock down to 17. I think they wanted it to stop here about 25. I think this gave, a lot of fat, dim-witted retail people like myself who just see this. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense into the growth on some trumped up stuff from old legal cases by disgruntled middle management with tiny wangs and an axe to grind. Know what I mean? Know what I mean? You guys ever been in 3 bowling leagues at once? Try to run from alley to alley, lane to lane, all while not spilling your beer, sporting a tiny wang, 7-10 split, if you know what I mean. Sometimes my Wranglers would make a 7-10 split out of the old Family Jewels. You guys know I'm all taters. I am no meat. I'm all taters. Still make you a nice hash, if you know what I mean. All due deference to the channel chef, my old buddy Billy Jack. Lead jugger of Billy Jack and the Butt Crack Boys. Headline the Baked Bean Bonanza down in Biloxi. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I don't see how the stock could go much lower than this. Brian, that's when I like to buy. I'm a bottom feeder. I'm sorry. That's my MO. That's my personality. I was born under a bad sign. I don't know what it is about me. I try to buy the lows. I know it's stupid. I know you should just buy quality, buy the upswings, wait for confirmation. Trend is your friend. Only price pays. I wear blazers I bought, from Miami Goodwill. Get too much sun on a rapidly receding hairline that's not used to taking this kind of beating. I don't know. You guys know how it is. Yeah, a lot of people definitely think it could go lower, including Goldman. But I would argue that this is, that this is price fixing here, that they fix the price here to accumulate, that they bang it off these lows to get you to sell at the lows. I mean, Brian, I just think you're wrong. I think it could obviously go lower. It did go lower, but I don't think it's going to go too much below this line. Like, I don't think it's going to go to 20. Could it go to 25? Yes, absolutely. Could it go to 20? Yes. Do I think it's going to go to 20? No. Negative, Ghost Rider. But am I often wrong? Yes. Am I man booming at an executive PhD level? Most days I am. Some days, struggle bus for me. Some days the man boobs just aren't as pert as they used to be. The tweens throwing tomatoes at me while I wait for the bus are just extra cruel. It's a tragedy only Bill Shakespeare could write. You guys ever gone down that rabbit hole about how Shakespeare wasn't a real person and it's amalgamation of writers and, make your head spin, stuff online. A lot of information online. Some of it suspect. Beware of fat people with no knowledge or special skills, information, just flailing in the dark, trying to make a squirrel trying to get a nut. Can't even talk. I swear, green tea is a scam. There's no caffeine in this. It's just, I drink this stuff nonstop. I pee 40 times an hour, going through a big box of green tea from Trader Joe's twice a day. And I'm still exhausted. When I used to drink 30 or 40 espressos a day, I was much more chipper. Go back to old me when I had my espresso robot going. Oh man, that was way better. Yeah, Brian, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. The growth it's hyper growth while being profitable in the right industry. I mean, it should be trading at much higher. I think the stock, even with the bad, quarter last quarter, I think it should be trading at 50 or 60 now. I think if it hits, if they're able to hit 40 billion, this stock should be trading at like $150. Given the books, I mean, the books are not that bad. They keep wanting to harp on the books like they're, these capital raises are this insane, irresponsible masking of all these problems in the book. It's not. It's basics. This is basics of any business. It's cash flow management. That's all it is. This hits any business. I don't care if you're a contractor, a house flipper, real estate. You have to pay for a lot of stuff up front and then wait for your money on the back end, to make your profit. And sometimes that wait can be painful, and that's why cash flow is king. It's not net profit, like gap net profit and all that's well and good, and BDO is our friend there, and we want to keep them happy. Um, let's see. So what was I talking about? Yeah. I mean, this is the structure of the business. They're a middleman essentially, and a damn good one. And so, they're also adding a ton of value. And that's what I don't think the guy who really writes this article, these are not all interchangeable. Some of the companies are better at things than others. And I think this is a scam by Goldman. I think, and what do I mean by that? Okay. So, first off, look at the overall institutional ownership of the stock. Okay, you'd think when the price recently went multiple times in the 50s and 60s, institutional ownership would fall off a cliff. And that didn't just happen later. I mean, this is back here, right here is the third quarter. So, after in July, you have the stock going to, what is this? Almost 100 or something? Am I reading that right? No, this is last year. Sorry. Yeah, no, I knew that wasn't the case. I was like 50, 60, what the hell's 100? No. So basically here you have the stock going to 62. This is in Q3, and then it comes back toward the end of Q3, back up toward the 50s, and then this is, I think, is Q4 when it breaks back into the 60s. But the point is, any institutions that thought this was worthless, thought this was 20, wanted to get out of it, could have sold for 50 or 60 in Q3, but you obviously don't see that. You see remaining steady and then increasing, for the last 2 months, remaining steady at this elevated level, much higher than it's been since obviously the split and anything, all these accounting difficulties. But I think people can see there's not a lot of value in AI. This AI growth, usually for the hyper growth, you're going to pay a hyper multiple. Where this gives you, the opportunity to get in. But going back to Goldman and this stuff they run, this doesn't tell the whole story, because their average cost at 45, they increased their long shares by 173%, 7.2 million. But then if you go over here to the funds shorting, and then you go number of shares, you'll see obviously Jane Street, Susquehanna. These are all the normal shorts: Susquehanna, Jane Street, Citadel, Peak Six. But then, the top 10 here at number 6 is going to be Goldman. And then Goldman increased their puts by, 6,000%. So that represents 4.1 million shares, which obviously they're getting a good price on. Hold on, guys, one sec. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Welcome and hello and welcome. So anyway, you can see the powers that be shorting the stock are also long the stock, and that's why they're controlling the price. They're controlling it in this range. It's, they never wanted it to go to 17, but it did. Some of us made a lot of money. Some of us got sucked in at the top. I've kind of been on, both ends of this one. Probably got a little too, emotionally involved in these stocks I do on YouTube. Most of my other stocks I don't really, start screaming about and make thumbnails about all this nonsense. I just buy and sell dispassionately, which is really what you should be. I'm actually doing that. This is more like a shtick, like a bit. So anyway, let's see. Anyway, yeah, I'm not all in SMCI. It's not a giant position for me, but I'm buying today. I bought more SMCX. I bought more SMCI. I'm just going to wait a couple quarters and let this thing shake out and really see how they do on the year. I mean, even analysts calling for 33 billion at the low end, that's still be almost 50% growth year on year. If they're able to maintain margins, maybe expand margins a tiny bit. I mean, you have to look at it like the guy who wrote this article was talking about, well, just 3 years ago, their margins were 17%. I mean, fair enough, but just 3 years ago, they were doing $5 billion in sales. I mean, 5 billion in sales. So would you rather have 17% of 5 billion, or would you rather have 10% of 40 billion? And I know that's kind of a stark, like, black and white, not exactly the right way to frame that, because there's a lot of nuance to growth and margins and scale and operational efficiency. And it's just not the same company it was 3 years ago. This is not a, low single digit billion family run company. This is now, a major player in the space. They have like over a quarter of the market share in the space, and they're getting a lot of the bigger accounts. So the way these guys pretend like, oh, I don't know what's going on, the margins have changed. Oh, it's so confusing. Wow. All the bright lights in the big city and the margins are down. I mean, who is this guy? Seinfeld? Who is this analyst? Mike Ings. And probably sounds just like Seinfeld. I mean, what's the deal with AI? I mean, it's fizzling out. Am I right, people? Airline food. It's like, is this the thought process that goes into these calls? Brian, I completely agree with you. That's why I keep loading it. I think it can easily double on the CR after a couple weeks when people digest it and people see where it's going, and people see that management has not been full of shit at all, that these projects are real, they were shovel ready. And the nature of the beast is that at the end, there's, little adjustments during the process. It does take longer, takes them longer to get paid. But at the end of the day, they are going to get paid, or they're going to, sell the receivables. And, it's not ideal, but I guess it's better than going back for another convertible or something where, the best of us guy slaps our nuts again. All his wisdom. That guy is really smart. I really like that guy. Best of Us Investing. He's like a really good older gentleman. Not that old, but older than me. Also fitter than me. All they have to do is meet expectations and confirm guidance. Brian, I wish it were that simple, my naive young friend. I wish, but no. They have to beat their guidance. They have to beat 36 billion, I think, to really get the multiples we're looking for. And then this quarter, they're not going to be happy with anything less than 10 billion. And then I think they'll find a way to, shit on 10 billion. I think you really want 11 plus, given, the revenues that they said were put forward. So this guy makes the same point, but yep, me too, clap my dog. Me too, right there with you. Yeah. I agree with you, Upwards Finance. I completely agree with you. Upwards Finance is calling it. It's literally trading below last year's sales. We will see much higher prices this year. Completely agree with that. Very wise, Upwards Finance. Welcome to the channel. Hello and welcome, guys. Soon Poco Moss, by the way. They call me Little Danny Cornbread DiCarlo. Why do they call you cornbread, you might ask? Well, because I'm moist, I'm doughy, and I crumble under pressure. They call me the tugboat because I'm short in stature, pull more than my own weight, and I'm rarely far from my home port. Of course, they call me DJ Patchy Drizzle. They call me MC Al Dente. They call me Stubby Cohiba due to an unfortunate manscaping accident I had back in the late 1970s. I also had a Coral Gables Forte with a Vitamix blender. And guys, a lesson for you all. Do not manscape with a Vitamix. It's very, very dangerous. That blade is spinning at 30,000 RPMs, and you do not want your testicles, your genitals, right in that vicinity. It's a lesson learned the hard way, but that's why I'm here, guys. 30 years of bad trading and bad decisions. I'm giving you guys a school of hard knocks. Giving you the playbook I built up over the years, Mikey. You guys like Kanish? You big Kanish fans from Film Rounders? You guys like to gamble? I'm reformed gamble, no gamble no more. Why? You guys got a game going? You guys got a game? What do you got? Holding? What do you got? Guys want to flip dollars? What do you got? Play little craps on the street? What do you got? I like to gamble, to be honest with you. I hate green tea. It's tasty, but it just has no caffeine in it. It's a total scam. I've been drinking green tea literally all day without stopping, and I'm about to fall asleep. So The great No Traxful is here. Give that man his money. He beat me straight up. I go on taking you apart all day if you want, KGB. It's like, what is your accent? It's like, what's your accent? It's like, I'm a gritty kid from, he's like, you sound like you're trying to do someone from the South. He's like, well, you don't sound like no Russian gangster. Like, you want to talk to grandma? Like, why is grandma wearing those red pajamas with like the, the buttons where you can undo the butt? Like, what are you, ice fishing? Wearing that with this little like sideways fedora. Absolutely ridiculous. The grandma character. You trapped me. Yeah. Like the Wigger trapped the shareholders. Yeah. Now, I mean, okay, I'm not saying their accounting was always perfect, but these guys are more honest than most other public companies growing at this. You could find, if you really go into people's books and you get past employees turn against, current management, and they're, spilling all the secrets, and they know where the bodies are buried, and they know, shortcuts that have been cut, and, T's that have not been crossed, and I's that have certainly not been dotted, but are more, chapchos. Trump's tariff case will definitely affect stocks tomorrow, but is the ruling tomorrow? I thought they kicked the can down the road. Let's see, guys. Let's see, guys. Trying to get any other interesting comments, but I don't really see any. Yeah, I like this Upwards Finance. Good guy. Billy Jack, I'm concerned about the tariff thing. Yeah, me too, Billy Jack. I didn't realize the ruling was coming out Wednesday. I don't really following current events. Will it ever get back to 50s or 60s? I mean, if they hit 11 billion, I think it should get back to the 60s. I'm not saying it will get back to the 60s because I don't control the market. Apparently, Goldman and others do. Brian Creasel, he does agree. There's an AI bull market and it's not growing revenue. Do I have a tiny wing? Certainly. Put that in air quotes, though. You definitely could go lower. Guys, stocks can always go lower. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't buy here if I thought it was going to go lower, but stocks can always go lower. There can always be more bad news, and this stock has shown it can go to 17. There are sellers down there, and everybody's been demoralized on this one, and that's where they want you. They want you at your most vulnerable state. So, you basically have no, willpower left, and you end up selling the bottom, and then they send the stock up at earnings, or they send the stock up whenever they want. Or like SoFi, they did a lot of times, they sell off after a good ER or a decent ER, an ER that retail perceives as good. And then that's even more demoralizing. So I think, some of these market makers, like higher psychological profilers and experts and, people who waterboard folks, and they figure out, how do we really, get these guys in like child's pose so we can, violate them with this random, huge downgrade call on a Tuesday, the 13th, like a couple weeks before the ER. We haven't been covering the stock, but let's really kick it in the ribs. Exactly, Brian, with the Y. You said it. Who else is here? What's up, Bobby Joe? The great Bobby Joe has joined us. We're all very concerned, Billy Jack. Now go fry some pork chops for the class, my good friend. Good news will be a big pump. Yeah, I hope so. Barron's buying at market close, 100x for tomorrow. My portfolio has 8 stocks, and the value has been stuck at the same amount for a little over a month. Well, that's not really a bad thing, Billy Jack, particularly because I would guess it's gone up considerably over time. So yeah, don't worry about it. Those pauses, those hiccups, nothing goes straight up. And, don't be afraid if your portfolio retraces. My portfolio has gone down a little the last few weeks probably. Like Tesla was at a peak. I didn't sell. Microsoft's been down. I'm not selling Microsoft. I'm buying Microsoft. A lot of other areas of my portfolio have been doing pretty well, but some of my biggest positions have been down a little bit. And that's, I just look at it as, do I want to buy? Do I want to hold? What do I want to do? There's really no fear in it for me. SoFi has obviously been down off the highs quite a bit. SMCI, SMCX been an absolute bloodbath, but I don't worry about it because I just, I'm not selling it here. I'm a buyer here. I'm not a seller. So I get the lows don't bother me when I'm a buyer, not a seller. If the stock's dog shit and I'm panicking and I'm selling and it's at the lows, yes, that's no fun. Anyway, let's see. For a little over a month. Yeah, so these are the same comments, guys. No new comments. Sorry, I got to get off this thing because I got a bunch of work to do. But yeah, it's just in this little price fixing range. Another thing you can notice is like the volume always ticks up. Like this has been trading like 15 million shares, and already it's 44 million. Like once they did this to SoFi the other day on the KBW downgrade and then the Goldman downgrade, that traded like 120 million shares out of nowhere. And SoFi's back down to like 40 million yesterday. So they have to churn the shares. There has to be an extreme amount of volume for them to control the price when there's a lot of retail in and out of the stock and even other institutions in and out of the stock. It's like you need that volume to dominate the order book. It's just bottom line. If you're going to steer the ship, you got to have a bigger boat. You got to have a bigger dinghy. Got to have a bigger willy. Yes, I have a lot of Neo. Don't remind me. I do have quite a bit of Neo. Many, many thousands of shares. I don't mean unfortunately, but obviously the stock price hasn't been what I'd hoped it would be at this point. Given production, hopefully impending profit. But I personally don't think Neo can actually make a profit this quarter. I don't see how. I've taken a look at the books and my assumptions and stuff. If the margins are that good on these vehicles and the margin expansion has been that much, then yes, I guess they could. But I mean, my modeling, as it were, my napkin math didn't see it. Yeah, we all have Neo. We're all bag holding that one. I'm not bag holding it that bad, but did you ever take a look at Go? I'm still seeing 100% institutional ownership, and it makes no sense. Bobby Joe, yeah, I will take a look at it. I haven't, to be honest with you, just because these companies, the institutional ownership can get listed. You mean grocery outlet? Is that what you're talking about? I'm sorry if I read that wrong. I don't have my other glasses. Geo. Just curious if that's what you're talking about. Yeah. Okay. 140% of the shares are held by institutions. So you have BlackRock. Yeah, it obviously doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't know what to tell you on that one. It's kind of weird. But yeah, I see those all the time. Just doesn't usually mean anything. Okay, yeah, they have 143% long, and then you have the same shares. Maybe they just did like some share buyback. Maybe there's a reverse split. Yeah, because the fund sentiment score is 10 out of 100, so no funds are accumulating. Not sure what happened in terms of the share count. Whoops, that's not what I was trying to do. Down a little bit. So BlackRock, FMR, Vanguard, all the usual suspects too. Yeah, so there's no, I don't know. Yeah. Morgan Fudley with a big increase, but I'm not sure why it's reading that way. But yeah, if you look at the 141 million shares, maybe that's more than the current shares outstanding, because you have to remember, like, if there's share count changes in Q4, these are still the filings from Q3. So you have the current SEC filings show institutions holding 141 million, and maybe there was a 3-for-1 reverse split or something. I'm just giving an example. I have no idea what happened here, but that would be like 46.33 million instead of 141 million. So instead of 143, it would actually be like 30. I just don't know. I'm waiting on Nubank to finally get out of this funk. Yeah, I think Nu's a good company. I think they have really good management. I own, not a huge position, but I do have a position. So definitely, if you like the fintech space, if you like the digital space, SoFi is my favorite, obviously. But there's nothing wrong with owning some some of these other names if you like them. Okay. Yeah, Bobby Joe, I just don't know what happened. I could read everything and figure it out exactly why it is that way, but I just haven't had time as yet. If I do have a little bit of time, I'll definitely figure it out for you, or I'll have some of my nerds do it because I pay people that are much smarter than me. They have abs, bastards. Anyway, guys, I appreciate it. I got to run, but don't, if you're a super micro shareholder, don't sell on the basis of this Goldman call. I mean, the stuff they say in the call doesn't even, it doesn't even really hold that much water. Like, read the Yahoo, um, read just like the Yahoo article or whatever. Super microcomputer is an AI winner. Sell the stock anyway. Goldman Sachs says, like, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. And then they increased their long shares 180% last quarter. Did they dump in Q4? I don't know. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, guys, but little does. Thanks a lot, Billy Jack. Really appreciate you, my good man. Shakar B6B, appreciate you. Bobby Joe, thanks a lot. Lose to me, bought $5 because everyone said exit was the bottom. Yeah, I mean, I think $5 really is some good support there. It's the exception that proves the rule. Just because the stock drops below, perceived support doesn't mean that support evaporates. They can control the price. There has to be sellers down there. They have to make a market down there. They have to get retail. They're not going to get any institutions that dump below 5. They're trying to get you tiny wing heroes to dump below 5. And a lot of you guys are accommodating them. Oh, I hate you guys. Thanks a lot. Peace. I'm out. Poco Moss. Act like you know.